Hello, good morning, Rosenias. Live Christ, share Christ. Today we're going to discuss doing philosophy, pursuing wisdom, and facing challenges in the 21st century. So here are our lesson objectives. Recognize human activities that emanated from deliberate reflection. Realize the value of doing philosophy in obtaining a broad perspective on life or in life. State in one sentence your philosophy of life. Okay, so look at the images on your screen, okay? So, as you see here, you see the Thinking Man sculpture by Rodin, and then because man keeps on thinking, okay? He or she doesn't stop from thinking. And then you have here the yin yang, the that symbolizes the opposing values in the world, okay? The continuous struggle of good versus evil. And then you have here lotus. So it is said na even if lotus in its roots, no, it's very dirty, but then its flowers evoke a nice, beautiful color. Okay? And then you have here in bubble thought that says, if not now, when? So if not now, when? That's the question. If not if if not now, when are you going to change your philosophy of life? Because philosophy is your guide to your success in the future. Your philosophy of life will determine what you will be in the future. So it always affects the way we think. Next, here are the key questions that we are going to answer for this week. What is the importance of philosophy? Why do we need to study philosophy where in fact it has no use in our life or in our lives? Okay? How does philosophy work in our daily life? No, but I'd like to counter argue that philosophy makes our life worth living. As I said, philosophy is your guiding principle in your life. Okay, that's why you're always being asked, what's your philosophy of life? Diba? Okay. So, before we tackle further about philosophy, let's first determine what philosophy is. Philosophy means love of wisdom. Philo, it came from two Greek words, which means philo, which means to love, sophia, which means wisdom. Okay, so philosophy, no, in layman's term, is love of wisdom. Wisdom is different from knowledge because knowledge you can acquire it in a formal classroom setting or like this one, virtual. But wisdom you acquire it in life because the greatest test there is in life is the experience that we are having. Okay, the struggle we have in this world. So philosophy is also defined as the science that by natural light of reason studies the first causes or highest principles of all things. Why is it called as a science? Science because the investigation is systematic. It follows a step-by-step process, okay? It follows the scientific method, okay? It employs certain procedures. It is an organized body just like any other sciences. And you also have natural light of reason because philosophers investigates things not by using any laboratory instrument but through reason. Through reason alone. Okay? Philosopher uses his natural capacity to think. Okay? It is the term called unaided reason. Okay? And then you have the first causes. The first causes. It is the study, okay, it studies the first causes. And philosophy also is that the sets of distinction of philosophy to other sciences is that philosophy encompasses everything. No, from theology to religion, language, God, plants, among other reasons. Okay, it is not one dimensional, it is multi-dimensional. Okay, first cause or highest principle. We have four principle. Okay, we have four principle in philosophy. First is principle of identity. Okay, which means that whatever is, and whatever is not. Everything is what it is. Everything is its own being, and not being as not being. Okay, what do you mean by that? It simply means that it only means that we have our own identity. Okay, that each entity exists as a something in particular, and it has characteristics that are part of what he or she is. Okay, that we are unique in every sense. Okay, that an entity without an identity cannot exist, because it would be nothing. To exist is to exist as something, and that means to exist with a particular identity, which means that, for example, especially now, no, that the feed that the identity of the Filipinos are being uh not really trampled down, but not really recognized, unlike the identity of other nations. Okay, so without identity, we cannot exist, because we are nothing. Okay, wala kang kwenta, you must have a purpose, okay, in your life. So, principle of identity. I remember the quote of Bishop Desmond Tutu, who said that God has created us differently to know our need for one another. Even our fingerprints, no, are different from each other, because God has given us an identity, whether you believe in God or not. Okay, whether you believe in superpower or whatever, but that's the first principle of identity. You also have the principle of non-contradiction. Okay? That states that it is impossible for a thing to be and not to be at the same time, and at the same respect. Okay? That's the principle of non-contradiction. What do you mean by that? Okay. So it means that you cannot be both. Okay? You cannot be both. You have to choose. Okay? You have to choose kung ano ka ba talaga. Okay? Because you cannot, because a thing cannot be at the same place. And then you have principle of excluded middle. For example, we are debating a issue whether the ABS-CBN franchise ABS-CBN should be given a franchise. It cannot be that you are in the middle, na balimbing ka. You should choose a side, okay? Whether you are for pro or for cons. Okay? So that's principle of excluded middle. And you also have the principle of sufficient reason, that everything here in this world, there is a reason for its being and existing. It is existing because it has to exist, and there's a reason why it has to exist. Okay? You also have the branches of philosophy. First is the metaphysics. So we try to make things comprehensible by simplifying or reducing the mass of things we call appearance to a relatively fewer number of things we call reality. Okay? So that's a metaphysics, okay? According Okay. Metaphysics encompasses the studies of the reality. Okay? Study of reality. And then you have the ethics, which it explores the nature of moral virtue and evaluates human actions. So ethics is different from morals.